Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
Purple Access is the show. It's Zulgad. It is Chip Scoggins this week, Star Tribune sports columnist, of course, writes plenty about the Vikings. Ross Brendel producing. Chipper, I want to start you off with this one. So, Vikings rookies report a week from Sunday. That's right, a week from Sunday. And on Tuesday, the veterans report. You know, despite the unknowns this team has, and there's a lot of things that we don't know yet, I am probably as curious as I've been in a long time. And this is not to say that the Cousins teams were boring, but I am probably as curious as I've been in a long time because despite the fact this team has some quality talent, I absolutely don't know what to expect other than the fact that I think they're going to be better than a lot of people think they're going to be.
I would say I remember 2 years ago when the new regime came in and O'Connell came in, I think that was as much intrigue as I've had in the Vikings in a long time because it just felt like that the previous regime had been together for 100 years, right? And it's the same players, not a whole lot of difference. And so we had that. Was it Zimmer holding back? Was this new coaching staff going to unlock Cousins and do all these things? So I felt like there was a lot of intrigue there. But I agree with you that this is interesting because anytime you have a new quarterback or a changeover quarterback, there's always that unknown and always that curiosity factor to see how it's going to go. And so I think we all sort of knew what you're going to get from Cousins, right? There was no mystery about how he was going to play or how
right.
He might be better than what you thought a little bit, but you knew sort of what you're getting. Well, this could be anything, Judd. I mean, and I'm not even talking about JJ. I'm talking about Sam Darnold. Like, I have no grasp of what to expect from him. Obviously, you can't really glean a lot from OTAs and minicamp. He's coming into a great situation, but man, this is, and you said better than what people think. My fallback is to always pick 500 with the Vikings because sure. It's the NFL. It's what everybody does. I would probably start there. I know people think less than that, but I would probably start there.
Yeah, and I think that there is an expectation that they're going to, among some, that they're going to finish in last place in the North. I'm not
win 6 games. I've seen that, right? Win 6 games.
And I'm not convinced Chicago is going to be great. Rookie quarterback, coach who's a defensive guy. Like, there's a lot of things. I think the Lions are clearly and should be the favorites. I don't think the Packers are superior to the Vikings in that they're going to blow them out, but I think that they're the second place team. But
because of the quarterbacks, because of the quarterback only, Judd, you think?
On Green Bay? Yeah, I think the quarterback and I
me
mean,
too. I agree. I think that
they do have some nice components, but the thing with the Vikings that intrigues me. So I'm with you. When O'Connell came in, just because it's a coaching change and Kwesi was new, I was curious about that. But here was my problem with that going into that camp. They then proceeded to not make changes. Yeah. And so I was sort of disappointed. I'm like, well, okay, so we've got a new regime in charge, but they're basically going to take the same components that Zimmer and his staff did. This one intrigues me because of this. So Darnold, yes, unknown, complete unknown. Could be much improved, could be a complete bust. But I think part of that now hinges on seeing what O'Connell can do with him. And I don't know. I mean, O'Connell did a good job with Kirk, and Kirk had some success. Some of that success is attributed to Kevin. But this is one where I think the curiosity of quarterback and coach really has me going, because how you're putting Darnold into a situation where you've got Jefferson, Addison, hopefully eventually Hawkinson, a run game that should be improved, right? So this is also going to be play calling and coaching, to a certain degree as far as what you're going to get from Darnold.
Yeah. I mean, this is a referendum on Darnold, I think, 70% of it and 30% on O'Connell, because O'Connell has this, reputation of being a quarterback, guy who can elevate quarterbacks. And we saw it to some degree last year, to get Josh Dobbs, through a game where he didn't know the playbook and you get a win. I mean, that was pretty impressive. But this is in large part why you hired Kevin O'Connell, because of his expertise with that position. Not fully. I mean, you need the leadership and all the other things. But so I want to see what he can do with Sam Darnold, because this is you mentioned all the factors and why this is a good situation for a quarterback to step into, particularly a quarterback that's trying to revitalize his image in this league, his reputation. And so it's sort of now or never for Sam Darnold, it feels like, or you're a career backup.
Big time. What is your expectation? So to go along with the conversation here of the run game now too, because to me, that's a big O'Connell thing. And if you just look at the sheer amount of carries in his first 2 years with two different guys, so it's not the same guy. They were both near the bottom of the league. I think this Aaron Jones and Chandler, who, by the way, I want to see play. I don't want Chandler Berry.
Yeah.
I want to see them both play. But I think that combination provides an outlet to actually use the run game. And as you've talked about repeatedly, also improve the screen game.
Yeah. And this is the best situation that O'Connell's had at running back in his 3 years, right? I don't want to say Dalvin was completely done when Kevin came here, but it wasn't the Dalvin that we were used to. There were still explosive runs, but it wasn't as reliable. I just thought Alex Madison was just not the right fit as the number one guy. It just didn't work. But this is also on O'Connell to show that he can craft a scheme to utilize the run game that if he trusts it, and they've got to get more out of it. I mean, last year the whole talk was we got to be more efficient. Right? Doesn't mean you have to have a ton of carries and go back to the Zim way, but you got to get more out of what you're doing with the limited numbers. Well, that didn't work. So now, was that a personnel thing? I think a large part of that probably was. But now Aaron Jones, if he's the Aaron Jones that we saw at the end of last year, and he still has, I got to imagine there's some motivation in him to show his former team and the rest of the league that he still has it. That will go a long way in helping Sam Darnold too, right? If you can have a much more reliable, much more productive run game, then this offense is different.
It's imperative. Like if you don't give him a run game, it's over. Like Kirk, I understand. Kirk had a couple of really nice years with K.O.C. Statistically, 22 was not as good as some past years, but my comeback to that is I think he was a better quarterback. And Kirk threw the ball a lot. If you put, and Kevin's not dumb, but if you were to put Sam Darnold into, the same predicament, you're screwed. So yes, I think that this is in some ways, to use your term, I think this is a referendum on like O'Connell's play calling and coaching, just from a standpoint of, okay, the quarterback's not as good, but I'm sorry, you can't just waste a year of Jefferson and Addison and that crew because the quarterback's not as good as Kirk Cousins was.
And I'd be curious to see like what, if he trusts this running game, and it is productive in a way that and efficient. That's the way they like to say it. How much will he lean on that? Like, will he ever fully not Zim, like bear hug it like Zim would, but, or is he always just going to be side on, man, I want to push the ball down the field and vertical passing game? Because that's, no matter what quarterback he put in there last year, that's what he was doing. I mean, even quarterbacks that look, should not be starting in the NFL at that time, they're, taking shots down the field. So I'll be curious to see how he uses Aaron Jones in this running game and how much he will lean on it. Particularly early, probably to, maybe try to alleviate any kind of, I don't know if pressure is the right word, but just what is put on Sam Darnold's plate to try to, run this offense. So I think early on, we might see it a pretty heavy volume of relative to what we've seen from O'Connell, volume of carries.
So first off, I agree with you, Judd, that you can't just waste a year of Justin Jefferson, especially now with that brand spanking new contract. But we talked an awful lot on this podcast, this edition of Purple Access with you, Judd and Chip, about when you draft a quarterback, it kind of resets your clock, at least for K.O.C. and maybe the GM as well. So I look at this year, gentlemen, and I think I'm slightly different from you guys. Can we all agree the Vikings probably are not going to win the Super Bowl this year?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I look at this year and I think this feels like the most true form of year one for K.O.C., even more than his first year because of everything that you said. He came in, he had an established quarterback that I think everybody at least trusted enough to be able to get down the field, do some things, and be functional. We don't know if we have any of that. So to me, this season would really have to go off the rails for me to be upset or disappointed, and I don't think the roster allows for that. So I think this is a true evaluation of year of K.O.C. more than any other year we've seen from him.
Well, for sure, to me, this is a reboot on not just O'Connell, but Kwesi, because I think we talked about it in the last episode when I was on with you guys that, when they came in, they put that document together about how they're going to get to where they are right now. And anytime you draft a quarterback top 10 first round, that's a reboot. Like you're starting over. Mm-hmm. And with what they've done with their roster in terms of turning it over, creating all that cap space for next year, getting Jefferson signed, changing out some of the veteran players, Daniil's gone. He was here for a long time. It's for sure a reboot. Now, I think there's always pressure to win in the NFL because, as Kwesi said when I asked him about that when you're putting together a roster, you probably can't think more than 2 years out. So I'm guessing most owners and organizations feel that way. Now, you don't want to be knee-jerk and you're making changes with your GMs every 3 years, right? Had they not done this and tried to stay the course with Cousins, this year 3 would have been a pivotal year for this regime. They're like, okay, where's this going? But when you do the things that they've done, I think that's a reboot. And I'm guessing ownership, along with fans, understand, okay, if this season doesn't go the way, is not a playoff year or they have some struggles, I think that's not acceptable, but people sort of understand what's happening.
Yeah, and I guess what I'm getting at is I think K.O.C., sorry to cut you off, Judd, I think he would have, for me to really change my opinion of him, not almost all the good stuff that happens, I think I know he can do. I would need to see a lot of bad, alarming stuff to really change my opinion on him. So what I mean by that is if Sam Darnold is awful, I don't know how much of that you can put on K.O.C. because the track record for Sam Darnold is that he might not be very good. And if J.J. McCarthy does have to play and he struggles, well, he's a rookie. So my point being, I think this would have to be an exceptionally bad, like 3-14, 4-13 season for my opinion to really change on Kevin O'Connell. I don't think there's a lot that Kevin O'Connell can do, good or bad, that will change my opinion of him until maybe the following season.
All how it looks, Roscoe. It's going to be all how it looks.
Optics.
Don't focus on the record. Focus on if Darnold 100%. Sucks and they don't run, that's on Kevin. If it's all going to be. It's going to be watching games and seeing things and saying, okay, they did that well. But yeah, this is going to be, I think, Chip, that's the exact right word. It's all optics. And look, if you ask me right now, I think there's more pressure on Kwesi. Like, I think the Wilfs love O'Connell. I think he's fine. I think Kwesi actually has pressure. But look, there's also going to be, and we're not going to be privy, unfortunately, to this, there's going to be a massive determination made of progress behind the scenes by McCarthy as well. And if he's not progressing, that's not going to be good for anybody. So, like, because Chip, you're right. Like, you don't say, hey, JJ McCarthy, in 5 years, if you're good, that's awesome. These clocks are ticking constantly, partially because of contracts. So, yeah, it's all optics. And what are you doing to improve the situation? Because I'm going to tell you right now, a year from now, we ain't going to be going into J.J. McCarthy's first year feel-good year. We're going to be going into he should start and they should be successful.
Well, that's it. Like, I think a lot of us probably view this as a redshirt year, to use the old, college thing for McCarthy.
Well put.
Which is why you gave Sam Darnold $10 million, right? Because you expected it to be a redshirt year for him. And so I don't want to say if that will be the narrative. If Darnold struggles, the narrative will be, well, he's struggled other places where he's gone. That's just who he is. But I don't know, you can't give coaching a free pass on everything just because, right. I'm not saying we're going to lay it all at Kevin O'Connell's feet because Sam Darnold, and who knows, maybe he'll play great. I mean, that's the hope that, you bring him in here and that you surround him with better talent and a better infrastructure than what he had in other places. And you start to see a guy's talent shine. So that's what the hope is. But no, they're going to, Judd, you're right. They're going to see things behind the scenes that we don't see.
Yeah,
with McCarthy, they're going to know how he's progressing and all that, and so
the Wilfs are going to track that. Like that's not going to be ignored by the people that write checks there. So yeah, this is going to be pivotal. Although if they don't make the playoffs, certainly not the end of the world. But here's the best case, and I've heard this already. What happens if Darnold plays well? Do you bring Darnold back? The best case is Darnold plays well and signs a multi-year contract to be a starter elsewhere, and McCarthy plays. If Sam Darnold is your starting quarterback on opening day 2025, unless you are the San Francisco 49ers and have the security that those dudes did, it's a problem. So this is very much preordained and needs to go according to plan, or short of a Super Bowl championship with Sammy Boy, you're going to have to be in a predicament where you want Sam to walk, get paid, and have a really good season here.
Yeah, and have a great season and parlay that in, but you don't draft the guy top 10 thinking he's going to sit 2 years. Like that's
not with that contract too, Chipper.
No, that's not because that's the whole idea, is having a quarterback that can play on his first contract, right?
Yep.
And so,
yep.
But this season, and then I think next offseason, I don't look a year in advance because so much changes in the NFL from one year to next. But you talk about Kwesi and like what he's done to put themselves in position to next year really be aggressive with that money that they freed up in free agency, right? Like that's like, okay, what are you going to do to really go get that high-end impact player because you have the money, and where are you going to allocate it to? And so I do think obviously the drafting first 2 years left a lot to be desired. The one draft obviously was not good at all. But you do wonder if and look, it still has to be determined, but you do wonder if Kwesi started to get his sea legs a little bit this offseason and start to see things turn around for him in terms of moves made and those type of things. So I think I feel like they have momentum.
Yes. Yes.
Like even that first year, Judd, fool's gold is not the right word, but you knew that wasn't a sustainable model. That was
they
not
ran it back.
Work. They
ran it back, and we all knew that. And look, good for them. The regular season was great, but we knew that was going to end quickly, and it did. So hey, first time that I've talked to you since the tragic death of Khyree Jackson a couple of weeks ago now in a car crash. And here's my question. We have both covered this team through some difficult times. I mean, this is the ultimate tragedy. It's absolutely heartbreaking. But not to be morbid, but what do you think O'Connell is up against here when the team reports? Because, this is a guy who they were practicing with. They're all young men who play football, which is, a sport where you don't really think about your mortality. To me, this is going to be a major test because everyone handles this differently, and they should. And O'Connell is sort of, in my opinion, the touchstone of watching this and making sure that people are okay.
Well, I do think O'Connell, because of his personality and how much he genuinely articulates and wants as much as it can be in the NFL, the family thing. I mean, it's a business and we all know it, and they cut guys left and right.
Right.
So, but I do think he kind of fosters that tight knit chemistry in the locker room and really cared about how players are feeling. And I think that's genuine. Like, he really worries about guys' personal lives and where they are mentally and those type of things. So, I mean, it's going to be obviously a tough couple of days for them when they return, because even though he was a rookie and only been around the team for a couple, months and one off season, I think Khyree had that personality, kind of that big personality that people liked, and gravitated to. So I don't doubt that he made a positive impact in the short time he was in here on a lot of guys. So it's something they're going to have to. It'll be the first couple of days. I'm sure it's going to be hard for them, and especially now when they're all scattered and you're not together with your teammates, and that makes it even harder.
Right.
And so I haven't seen Judd funeral arrangements, or if the Vikings are going to send a contingent down or anything. I haven't seen the details of that this week, but if it's come out yet, but I do think O'Connell and Kwesi will be able to navigate this tough situation pretty well.
It's a horrible situation to deal with, but what can you also just, thinking about it, K.O.C. may be one of the better coaches in the NFL at this moment for being able to address something like this, because it wasn't terribly long ago he was in a locker room as a player, and he's not much older than most of his players. So I think he sees the game and the world very similar to how probably 80-90% of his players do. So I think, albeit not a benefit you ever want to have or use, I think he's probably a pretty good coach and leader to have to deal with something like this.
Well, he is, because, I mean, we've seen coaches where guys are afraid to go talk to because it's just, there's almost like this wall, I'm the coach, you're the player, there's just not a lot of community, interaction that way. Well, I think O'Connell really tries to go the extra step to really connect with his players and get to know them and have a personal relationship with them. We've seen it, you see it every day and you hear him talk about it. So I think he will be good for his players in this situation. I think he'll handle it because it's tough. I mean, it's, these guys they're young and this is, this is a hard thing. I mean, this is a guy who it's tragic, Joe, because you think about, man, all that Jackson overcame to get to this point with the different stops and just to have his life cut short.
Yep.
When he had just realized this dream of his to get I mean, it's just, it's heartbreaking. I feel terrible for his family.
Absolutely. And and as far as teams go too, I mean, these are all, they're not kids, but they're not old. And again, they play a sport in which you suspend your belief, right? Like, you can't go into a game thinking about injury or, God forbid, death or something like that. And so, I do think that we've come a long way. I saw a note quickly that, counseling will be available. Like, the mental health of people and athletes now is taken seriously. I don't know that, 20 years ago it was. No. I think we just expected them to show up, shut up, and play football. They don't expect that now. But this is the thing. This is the part about being a coach you don't sign up for, but you do, right? Like, like that call, that God forbid, that call at 4 a.m, informing you of this, or, not as bad, but guys get arrested. There's always that, you're the coach, you're the guy. Like, the OC finds out, but he finds out later. He doesn't have to worry about the whole thing. So, like, this is the part of the job that I think would 100% be the toughest, because you're never prepared for this.
Well, that's Mike Zimmer always said that Bill Parcells told him, as a head coach, something will come across your desk every day or every week that you haven't faced or you haven't been prepared for.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this is, one of those things that, O'Connell's has to tackle head on and figure out the best way to, let his players mourn and feel, all the emotions they're feeling, but also you're starting camp and there's a job to do too. And you have to walk that line and the counseling, that's such a big part of, I think, pro sports nowadays, not just NFL. And it's good that, athletes are treated like humans, you know.
And I think they take it now. Like I think
well,
there was
usually
a
you
bravado
wouldn't, yeah.
time where you wouldn't talk to a counselor. I think now kids do that, which is a great thing.
Yeah.
But still, like, I mean, that's such, as you said, terrible news. Hey, last thing. So you're a Tennessee Vols guy. I know that.
Yeah.
You're a Mizzou guy. Then your daughter went to Kansas. Then your son went to Wisconsin. And now I see you sporting an Iowa State shirt. How much college garb do you have now?
That's right. Well, anytime I wear a shirt, I just kind of throw some on. I forgot I was going to be out here. But people were like, oh, you're wearing Iowa State. And it's like, Wisconsin or KU. It's like, yeah, and it shirt only cost me about $27,000. It was. I think I've earned the right to wear a shirt. Yeah, I have a lot because there's always you go to a football game or you go to a dad's weekend at their sorority or fraternity, and you go to games. So yeah, I'm the youngest is heading off in a month or so time here to Iowa State, and so we'll have 3 different schools.
Wow. Have you been to Hickory Park yet, Chip?
I have not. What is that?
Hickory Park is a fantastic barbecue type restaurant.
Oh, I did. Yeah, we went there.
Right.
Is it on that main drag, the main street down there?
Yep.
Yes.
And
we went there.
They must have 400 tables in there too, Chip.
They're quick.
Insane.
Yeah.
They turn it over quick. It's fantastic.
It's
Dawn took me there when I first had met her in '89. That's how long that place has been there. 30 some odd years.
Yeah, we had heard about it and we went. It must have been he was doing an official visit, and we went to that place. It's great. Yeah. So it's interesting. I'd never been there, and you drive down 35 and you're like, really? Like, there's a college here? And then, you get off the exit and you go there and, man, what a beautiful campus. What a fabulous setting. Yeah.
It's the same with the football stadium, Chip. It kind of just appears out of nowhere on their campus.
Yeah. Yeah. So my son fell in love with it, and I love the campus and excited for him to get started on his college career there.
With all your poll now, Chip, do me one favor.
Uh-oh. What?
Tell the Iowa State athletic department black is not part of their color scheme. They need to stop wearing. Oh,
you should talk to these guys here,
Ross,
before
unless you're Alabama or Penn State.
Yeah. I can't stand it. Change your uniform as often as you want, but do it within your color scheme.
So the campus is gorgeous. The only problem is the buildings were all built, it's very clear, in the late 60s or 70s. They are the ugliest buildings, including the basketball arena. I don't even know how white brick or something. It's just the ugliest. Like, tear down your buildings and build new ones. Yeah. So your campuses go like this, though. Now, I've not been to your schools, but Kansas, I've been to once. It's the most gorgeous campus I've seen. Iowa State too, but Wisconsin is the greatest bar campus. So don't sell Wisconsin short. And the tailgate, the party around Camp Randall on game days is second to none as far as I'm concerned. Yeah,
my son has not gotten shortchanged on that department. Let's just say that.
Oh,
he knows his way around State Street, I think.
Madtown's absolutely outstanding. All right, Chipper. Great stuff.
All right, boys. Yeah.
Roscoe, thanks much. Purple Access, we will be back with Tyler Forness of the Sporting News next week.